Razer, one of the biggest names in PC gaming, continues to make waves with one of their more recently released PC accessories. If you're a streamer, content creator, or someone who just wants a high-quality 4K webcam, then this video is for you. This is the Razer Kiyo V2. It's a USB 3.0 webcam with a built-in manual privacy shutter, 8.3 megapixel Sony Starvis image sensor for clear 4K video, reliable autofocus with AI-powered auto-framing, a 20mm full format equivalent focal length and image enhancement suite, scene customization for things like background blur and background replacement, HDR functionality, and the biggest one for me, an ultra-wide 93-degree field of view. Altogether, this makes for a pretty compelling package from Razer, but let's see it in action. One of the things you'll immediately notice about the Kiyo V2 is that it has really clear 4K. Now, I'm a bit of a snob when it comes to camera stuff and sharpness is definitely a strength of the 4K quality of this webcam. So major props to Razer for this one. Image quality when you're at a more reasonable distance for how you'd use it in a more typical monitor mounted setup, something a little closer, far more reachable by hand. As you can see, I'm right at it right now. This is how it would look, and honestly, like you get good focus and it's still nice and sharp. It looks good this way too. So whether you're using it for wide shots or using it for tighter shots, it still looks good. Let me pop it off the stand real quick and bring you guys here real nice and close. Again, this is one of the more impressive cameras from Razer, and you love to see it. Not a lot of settings were changed to get this picture quality right now. All I did was set the white balance and a little bit of saturation, and that's about it. Now, a major advantage to being a 4K camera is it does allow for auto framing. Now, whether you do that in NVIDIA's broadcast tool that will suck up major resources or whatever, with any Razer Kiyo V2, you get Camo Studio, and with Camo Studio, you can enable AI auto framing. Let me show you. I've got it popped up right here next to me, and we just scroll down a little bit here, and we get to this where it says framing, and right now it is on manual control the camera's zoom and pan, which would be me in here doing something like that. And then you have auto without zoom, and so with that enabled, you just set a zoom to a desired amount, and then it will move within the frame to keep you in the proper spot. So I'm going to keep moving it in, and you see it's keeping my head in frame. So now if I move around the frame, it will just keep track of me like that. But let's go on to AI auto framing, the full thing with zoom and everything. And now you just saw it's much smoother with its transition when it did that. And if I pull back, move around, it's acting like it's on a gimbal. It's punching into that 4K image and auto tracking based on that. And it does a pretty good job. Like I'm moving around a bit, but like if you're streaming, you're doing content creation, stuff like that, you're not going to be darting around the room too much, but it does seem to do okay with that. And again, that's the power of 4K when it comes to this sort of stuff, because if you only had a 1080p image and then started zooming in to auto frame you around the frame, it's not going to look so good. The 4K helps keep things clean and sharp when it comes to doing something like this. I need to ask you something. Are you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Because if you're not, hit that subscribe button, and also follow over on Twitch. Links are right over here. All right, I'm out of here. I don't like it over there. Speaking of image adjustments, you can also just change a bunch of things with a single click. If we have the software here, we can just come on down to, look, for example, spotlight. One click, it's going to change it around, try to brighten me relative to the scene. That can be useful in certain situations. You can also control how powerful the spotlight is. You can have it really low, or you can just crank it. And look, I'm glowing compared to everything else, but something more realistic would be like 20-ish%, something like that. I'll just turn it off, and there we go, back to how it was. We go to retouch, single click, and you can adjust the strength of the retouch, a little bit of skin smoothing, stuff like that, but it's not as noticeable. This one's far more subtle. And then we go to filter, and this is where the real one-click image adjustment is that you can pick from a few different filters that are on there. Let's say pop, and you can see like the blue on this is really coming through, the blue from the light back there, the RGB on the keyboard here. So you get, it's more filter like Instagram usage kind of stuff. But then we go down to, let's say, quiet background. You want to mute things a little bit. There you go. Look, reds are really popping in this one. whatever 2-strip is. Gets a little funkier that way. But what's cooler here is if you go into the filter gallery, if you click that filter gallery, which then looks like this, then you could explore different filters that are available all there, but specifically you can click add new filter. When you click add new filter, you have the ability to add your own LUTs. And with your own LUTs, then you can create your own filter for however you want stuff to look and be able to enable that with just a click. Pretty cool. On the subject of image adjustments though, you can look at exposure, you can leave it on auto. It does pretty good on auto, but you can also specify what kind of exposure you want. Center weighted, you want face weighted, or just complete manual. A lot of times maybe face might be all right, and that way this is always going to be properly exposed in your image. Or you can just do center, so for whatever is in this area will be good. Or, you know, be a pro, go all the way to manual. Then in manual you can control the ISO, which is nice. That's like the artificial brightness. You see that thing cranking. Shutter speed, that's definitely something I would prefer to keep locked. It's at 30 FPS right now, so that would be 1/60. And you see things getting kind of dim that way. That's now I can use ISO to bring us back to a good level, like right about here, maybe a little darker. That's pretty good too. I like it a little darker as well. And then you can control your temperature, tint, saturation, brightness, and all the awesome other stuff. Sharpness as well, so you can even turn those completely off and on. Let's look at sharpness. When you click it, it turns on, and you can see here what happens if you crank it. This comes through more, but if you add too much sharpness, you get a lot more noise. But I'm going to bring it down a little bit, and then you get like a bit of a happy medium. You get a nice dim image, but it's also clearly visible, nice and crisp with the sharpness turned up. It's really nice. Something else included in the software is a lot of customization for your scene. And what's cool about these scenes that the Camo software provides is that it will also make other adjustments to your image, to your zoom, to your focus style, all from one scene click. Let's have a look at that. We go here. Right now it's on blank, and more are available to select on the right. There's this one called front and center, so I'm going to go ahead and click that. And when I click that, makes a bunch of changes, zooms in, gets me, like it says, front and center. And now it's even AI auto tracking me, all with the click of one button. Let me disable this real quick. Now you can see the whole thing. One button did the overlay, did the tracking, made some adjustments, full single click solution to be able to change effects. And you can swap back and forth between different ones that are included in the software. So again, you know, pretty nice complete package. Now, a trick that this camera has up its sleeve is HDR, high dynamic range. And what that tends to do is allows multiple captures of an image. So the difference between high brightness and something more dim isn't so extreme. Lights and stuff won't be so blown out, for example. And it seems like you can't really fully turn it off in this camera, because usually my sign back here where it says Coalition Gaming would be pretty blown out, but you can clearly see it even though it's lit and nice and blue. But let's turn on the HDR. Let's do the dark setting right now. If we go to the dark setting, it will make an adjustment, and then here we are. And you know, not everybody is going to be a fan of the HDR look, but this becomes a little bit clearer, but the whole scene got kind of blue. We'd want to come back and make some image adjustments to bring that back to something a little more normal looking. Let's do that real quick. And bam, just a quick change of the white balance, and it's back to looking like a pretty good image. But there's still one more HDR setting to check, and that's bright. And here we are. Not a whole lot of difference. I made some adjustments, I guess, that ate into the difference that it was going to do. But again, like, it still looks good. You can see my Twitch light right here, probably a bit better. Let's move this out of the way real quick, and that way you can see that the HDR will really come through, because this is white right here with the eyes that are black. Let's go back to dark HDR, and you can still see it. You can tell that it's a little more blown out now, but now if we go all the way to off, you can't even see the eyes now. And this is the point that I'm making, is that when it comes to having really bright objects, because a lot of people, a lot of content creators and streamers like to have lights and all sorts of light up things in their setups, you can't really see what they are sometimes when they're just sitting there in the background. That just looks like the Twitch logo, but the Twitch logo has eyes. And if we switch to an HDR mode, then you can tell it's the Twitch logo with eyes. That can come in handy. And now my favorite thing about the Kiyo V2 is the field of view. It is just barely out of arm's reach, but look at that. It looks like it's further than that. It is a 20mm full frame camera equivalent in terms of focal length, which if you've seen what that looks like, you could get really close to somebody and still see a lot. And that's the point. When you have an ultra wide field of view, the camera can fit in a smaller room more effectively than other cameras that when you have them set up at the same distance, all you can see is your head. Well, in this one, you see everything. You see the whole room. Again, for small studio setups, if you have just a bedroom that you're using, or you just have a lot you want to fit into frame, the ultra wide field of view is one of the best features of this camera. If you like this video, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button and that bell so you don't miss a single upload. Also, I stream to Twitch every Friday at 8 p.m. Pacific at twitch.tv/coalitionchris. So feel free to stop by, drop a follow, and let's talk tech. Anyways, thank you to Razer for sponsoring this video and sending out these cameras. Really appreciate it, you guys. And for everyone else, I'll see you on the next video or in the next stream. Peace.